This is not getting discussed on the mainstream media. Not only are they wrong legally, but the fact that they would do this is outrageous. This is an overreaction and really nonsense. How would you react if this was your son or your daughter? It's the offense of knowing the truth. It's the offense of having an alternate worldview. Saying God bless you to someone is not a violation of the law.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this broadcast. We're talking about this move by the Freedom From Religion Foundation and in their Pray to Play. This is an attempt they have to intimidate Christian chaplains that are serving the needs of student athletes in some of the biggest college football teams in the country. And they want them removed, saying it violates the separation of church and state. We disagree. Now, let me tell you this. We just got a decision in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit involving another case with the Freedom From Religion Foundation. And that case involved the Jesus statute at Big Mountain in Montana. And the court held not only in our favor, but they wrote a very interesting aspect. They said, although the dissent focuses on the monument's appearance, that the statute is of a religious figure and that some of the initial impetus of the statute's placement was religiously motivated does not end the matter. The Establishment Clause does not compel the government to purge from the public sphere all that in any way partakes of the religious. This is a huge, huge win. I don't know if we have a picture of the statute. We should get it. I'll have it for our Facebook audience and for Periscope. We'll get it up for our television audience. Our television audience is here today. Jordan, this is a big win. This goes on the trend of them not winning cases. Again, Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals in our favor.
That's right. And so they appeal, they lose again an appeal. Now they're going to ask for an en banc appeal. But as they say, nothing fails like prayer. We say nothing fails like a Freedom From Religion Foundation lawsuit. And here, a legal battle that has gone on since 2012 over a statue that is a World War II war memorial that's been there for more than 60 years. It's not offended anyone. And then suddenly now, as these activist atheists want to do is rewrite our history. This was a statue of Christ that the soldiers from the mountain brigades saw in Europe, in Western and Central Europe. It's specifically based on that. That's why it's actually in color, because of the monuments they saw fighting the battles against the Nazis.
We are, by the way, using all of our media today. So you're watching us on television, on our networks around the country, actually around the world. You're watching us on Facebook. You're watching us on Periscope. You're listening to us on radio stations around the country. So we got all of our media involved in this broadcast today, including Facebook and Periscope as well. Logan, let's get people involved in the conversation.
That's right. Join the conversation now online. All you have to do is go to facebook.com/jsekulow, and you can watch the broadcast live. Like I said, we're not only on radio today, we're also shooting for television, so you can really be a part of the conversation, get your questions or comments in. Again, just go to Jay Sekulow's page on Facebook, as well as Periscope. Search for @JSekulow.
Folks, if you want to sign that petition to defend religious freedom on campuses and protect these chaplains and these student athletes, go to aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. Let's beat back the Freedom From Religion Foundation. aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. And I'll take your phone calls. Back with more, including your phone calls and comments in just a moment.
The anti-Christian group Freedom From Religion Foundation is at it again, this time targeting some of the best football programs at colleges and universities in the nation. This atheist group claims that purely voluntary religious activities violate the Constitution. They're attacking the First Amendment free exercise rights of coaches and players, even sending a demand letter to Auburn and numerous other universities challenging the constitutionality of their school chaplains. This is absurd. The Constitution protects the religious freedom of coaches, chaplains, and student athletes. It protects the player's ability to enjoy voluntary religious activities. The ACLJ is preparing critical legal letters to these universities to protect the religious liberty of coaches, chaplains, and students. Join our letter, make your voice heard. Call now 1-877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255, or you can add your name online, aclj.org.
Hey, welcome back to the broadcast, everyone. So it's called Pray to Play, and this is an attempt by the Freedom from Religion Foundation to intimidate coaches and chaplains from basically providing counsel and worship for these student athletes. Now, they don't have a plaintiff. I'm going to play a soundbite for you here where their lawyer acknowledges they do not have a plaintiff. No one has filed a complaint. Listen to what they said.
We noticed that these chaplaincies were existing at the high school level and at the college level, and it's such a bad violation of students' rights. We wanted to do something proactive rather than waiting for people necessarily to complain to us.
We want to do something proactive rather than waiting someone to complain for us. Jordan, they have no plaintiff.
Yeah, that's right. They have no one to complain here. They have no one who is willing to fight back for them and actually put their name out there as someone opposed to this. And typical with Freedom from Religion Foundation, now they're going to try and find someone by this advocacy campaign, try and find some student, some player, and I think that'll be very difficult, that would actually say, I'm opposed to this, and try to bring, again, a lawsuit or the threat of a lawsuit that would then cause these schools to, they hope, to rethink these programs.
They're complaining that that groups like the Fellowship of Christian Athletes are providing, basically a situation where they're a voluntary chaplain. No one has to go to these chaplains. I mean, Logan, we talked about the other day. No one's required to do that. I mean, you don't have to go, but it's there available for the students and these student athletes if they need it.
Right, these student athletes who are adults, who are coming into this who are over 18, who are coming into this as obviously a big transition point in their life. Sometimes they need someone that they can reach out to talk to pray with if they choose to. But again, it's obviously 100% voluntary, not even paid for by the schools.
Right.
This is something that is paid for by typically someone like the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, the FCA. Someone like that is actually providing the service. But instead,
they complained about one of the schools reimbursing a chaplain a couple $100 for meals when he was at the Cotton Bowl. I mean, that's how petty this is.
Lisa on Facebook just put, I'm sick of people trying to destroy our history. If you don't believe it, it's fine, but don't take away our history. And that obviously is a comment more related to the situation, the case that we just won.
Huge win again, Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. I'm holding the order in my hand. I'm going to let our television audience see it, and our friends on Facebook and Periscope. And I think Periscope may have some difficulties today, but no, everything's good. Let's go ahead and take a phone call here.
Brian in Colorado, you are on the air.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Brian.
Well, good to speak with you, Jay and Jordan, and I just really have the utmost respect for you. And I do pray for you guys, and we have been putting our money where our mouth is, and our prayers are. I just want to say thank you for talking about the victories that you guys are having through our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Right.
And I know you guys are Messianic Jews, so God bless you. And I'm just extremely proud of you for your stance.
Well, thank you. This win, Will Haynes, our executive producer here, said this. It was interesting. Whenever we talk about the Freedom from Religion Foundation, and Jordan, this is true, you start the conversation, we had these cases pending, and then almost like a clock, you end up getting a win, and we got this win here where the court, from the Ninth Circuit, which is very liberal court, saying that they had the right to bring the suit, but the substance of their suit, that statute violated the Establishment Clause, was wrong.
That's right, and that this was a 2-1 decision, so they had one judge there agree with their radical position. It was a Jimmy Carter appointee. But in this case, again, they're going to appeal. They'll go try to appeal en banc, and then if that's not granted, then maybe to the U.S. Supreme Court. And so this is what it's all about, being willing to fight, even going up to the higher levels of the courts, and not backing down because of the threat of a lawsuit. They win only if you don't fight back. If you fight back, you will beat the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And we, through this broadcast, want to make sure these schools are ready to do the same thing.
So, folks, here's what we need you to do. We need you to sign this petition at aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. By the way, 26,000 have. Or 23,694 have, with phone calls up over 26,000. Here's what we're saying. These school chaplains, voluntary school chaplains for these colleges, are constitutionally protected. The Freedom from Religion Foundation calls, you ready for this? Calls the coaches and students worshiping together, ready for this is their words, an unholy alliance. That's the word. Let me say that again. I want our television audience and Facebook and Periscope and radio to understand this. They're saying that if a student who is an adult, as Logan said, is praying with a chaplain and the coach happens to be there and wants to pray as well, they call that an unholy alliance. So for that very reason, I need everybody that's listening to us right now to go to aclj.org or call us at 1-877-989-2255 and add your name to this petition and letter going to these schools, backing these schools up, standing with these chaplains. You become part of that. They're calling it an unholy alliance. We're going to call it constitutionally protected speech. ACLJ.org or 1-877-989-2255. That's ACLJ.org or 1-877-989-2255.
That's right. A lot of comments coming in. A lot of people supporting and kind of standing up for what Tommy Bowden said. A lot of faith, family, and football going loud right now on Facebook and on Periscope. That seems to be kind of the battle cry right now.
Yeah, this is Tommy Bowden. Let's go ahead and play.
Former coach of Clemson.
Yeah, Coach Bowden. Let's go ahead and play that.
We've obviously gone too far with political correctness. And the mood of the nation right now, especially in the Southeast, where it's faith, family, and football, to go down there and try to yank chaplains, they've got no chance. They're spinning their wheels, and I think what they're trying to do, when they saw how much luck they didn't have at Clemson last year and in college football, they've kind of lost their relevancy, and they're looking for, I guess, more atheists to give some money, so they're trying to get some more publicity out there. But life will go on in the South, and it'll go on with chaplains in these programs.
That's right. We just got a great comment on Facebook. Patrick Sellers just said, I'm agnostic, but I 100% support the presence of chaplains. They're not just there for religious beliefs. They provide great counsel and a willing ear for folks that need it. They're heroes and save people's lives.
Well, there you go. So, it's like I said, it's not every atheist, but it is the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Let's go ahead and take a phone call.
All right. Roberta Ann in California, you're on the air.
Hi, Roberta Ann.
Hi, how are you today,
Good.
Jay?
Good.
Good.
Great.
Thanks so much for all you do
Sure.
for us. I have a comment. I don't think anyone's talked about it, but atheists have a religion.
Sure.
They have a God. They are their own God. They say, I am God, my beliefs, my opinions, my law, the way I see things rules over everybody else, and everybody else needs to bow to me as God. And I don't understand that.
The Supreme Court actually recognized atheism as a form of religion. They call it the secularism or atheism as a form of religion. But they're trying to, and I think this is important to underscore, Jordan, they are trying to bully. I got to stress this, folks. There's nobody complaining here. There's no plaintiff on this situation with the coaches. No plaintiff. Nobody's complained. Not an alumni member, not a student athlete, not a student. What they're trying to do through their pray-to-play nonsense, which is what this is, they're trying to find a plaintiff, but they haven't found a plaintiff. Nobody, Jordan, has complained, but the American Atheists and the Freedom from Religion Foundation, they take these extreme positions. And in this case, by the way, the one we won, as Jordan said, they did get one judge to, we got two, so we win, but they got a judge to agree with them. They will try to find a judge to take their positions. That's what their goal is.
In that case out of Montana, they lost at the district court level. That was an Obama appointee. They lost then now at the circuit court. That was an Obama and Bush appointee, George W. Bush. And then the dissent there, the one judge who agreed with them was a Carter appointee. They now want to go en banc. But I think you brought up the bigger point and why our advocacy campaign is important. They're going to look for some school administrator, someone somehow tied to the program, possibly, that they can make some link. And listen, you go into our American universities, I don't care if they're in the Southeast or not, there are plenty of these folks who may be angry atheists, especially within the bureaucracy. So they're searching for that person now, which is why we need to be ready to stand with these schools in case they take the next step.
By the way, 113,000 Americans signed on to our brief in support of that Veterans Memorial. 113,000 of you signed on to that brief. And we ended up with a win against the Freedom from Religion Foundation. So a great win there. Again, thank you for supporting the ACLJ. They call it an unholy alliance. We call it protected speech under the First Amendment. You go to aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255, and let's stand up with these students, stand up with these coaches, stand up with these volunteer chaplains, and make sure that these angry atheists don't get their unholy alliance codified into law. ACLJ.org or 1-877-989-2255. That's ACLJ.org or 877-989-2255. Logan and Jordan will be back in just a moment.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
The anti-Christian group Freedom From Religion Foundation is at it again, this time targeting some of the best football programs at colleges and universities in the nation. This atheist group claims that purely voluntary religious activities violate the Constitution. They're attacking the First Amendment free exercise rights of coaches and players, even sending a demand letter to Auburn and numerous other universities challenging the constitutionality of their school chaplains. This is absurd. The Constitution protects the religious freedom of coaches, chaplains, and student athletes. It protects the players' ability to enjoy voluntary religious activities. The ACLJ is preparing critical legal letters to these universities to protect the religious liberty of coaches, chaplains, and students. Join our letter, make your voice heard. Call now 1-877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255, or you can add your name online, aclj.org.
A huge thank you to our those of you who supported the ACLJ in the month of August. We had a really big goal, and we really exceeded that goal by a lot. And we couldn't have done that without you. So thank you. Again, we couldn't have done it without you. We appreciate it so much. Your support of the ACLJ makes all the difference. We got, Logan, a lot of calls coming in, a lot of comments coming in by Facebook and Periscope. We're using all of our media today, radio, television, Facebook, Periscope, all of it engaged here. So social media, everything going at one time, which I think is great.
Let's go to Evan, who's calling from New Jersey. You're on the air.
Hi, Evan.
Hey, thank you, Jay, for taking my call.
Sure.
Oh, man, let me just say praise the Lord and congratulations to you and your entire team. This is a fantastic win. And I just wanted to point out something in regards to, Jay, I've listening to you guys for years now. And I remember a while back you had mentioned with these guys, these Freedom From Religion Foundation guys, like all they do is go around the country looking for people to sue, looking to start lawsuits.
Well, they go around trying to find monuments to bring a lawsuit. I mean, Evan, you're right. We talked about that, Jordan. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. What was the one? It was right outside of the Blandensburg Cross, outside of D.C. And and they said people were getting sick by viewing it.
That's right.
That was the allegation.
So it's like they just drive around looking for war memorials and small towns and maybe areas that are not doing as well as they used to, and say, all right, instead of going after the memorials in Washington D.C. on the National Mall, we'll go after the Bladensburg Cross and in a town which has been hit a bit economically. It's a World War I memorial that was erected in 1925.
So this tells you that they are looking to try to create problems. I mean, again, they say they get sick. I mean, we played that one yesterday from Megan Cal. I'm not going to play it right now, but, I mean, it's just kind of the nature of what it is. They don't like the cross at Ground Zero. There's been conversation about that. So this is on and on it goes.
Yeah, it's destruction of not only, historical monuments, but history in general. It's almost, I hate to even equate it to certain things that are just horrible, but it is just destruction of art. It's destruction of its injustice upon people's, like I said, history, and positive history. That's the thing. We're talking about things that are positive or impacted people or moved people.
The World War II memorial that was the subject of the case in Montana was actually what the soldiers saw during World War II up in the Alps.
It's essentially just a traditional Jesus statue, as you kind of would expect it, but very colorful and painted.
And they did it exactly the same way as what they saw. What the soldiers saw was exactly what was depicted there, and that's why we did it. So again, aclj.org or 877-989-2255, aclj.org or 877-989-2255 to sign on to that letter that we're going to be sending to the schools about their so-called unholy alliance.
John's calling from Ontario, California. Mix up a little bit there. You're on the air.
Hi, John.
Hey, Jay. How are you today?
Good. Very good, sir.
Well, I wanted to let you know back in the late 70s, Dan Barker was an ordained minister. My father, Bob Wright, in a little town in Sonora, California, ordained Dan.
Wow. We actually found the ordination certificate.
Yes, and his name is on it as Bob Wright or Robert L. Wright. Some of the things that Dan's going through now, we saw back when he was a Christian. He led me to the Lord.
Wow.
He wrote a song, sang in my wedding, a song called Children of the King that talks about everything that you and I believe in.
Yeah.
The bottom line is something went wrong.
Well, then we need to pray for Dan Barker.
Yes, we do. Every time I talk to Dan, I probably talk to him, his family and I are great friends. His ex-wife, Carol, is writing a book about what went wrong.
Well, let me say this. You know, I don't like the cases they take. I don't like this allegation of unholy alliance. I don't like the belittling music, but they have the right to do that, and they do their music, we do ours. But that doesn't mean you don't pray for Dan Barker, and we should do that. And, John, I really appreciate you calling in and making a personal side of this because that makes a big difference. And I appreciate you also listening because that tells us that we're able to reach an audience. And then you've had personal experience with Dan Barker. Something in his life obviously happened, as you said. But look, the Lord can do anything, so we'll pray for Dan Barker.
Yeah, but a lot of comments. We had one coming from Dennis earlier today that asked if you would invite him to be on the show.
I think we have invited him to be on the show before. We have. Have they said yes? You can talk to us. We don't usually get a response back when we do. Michael Newdow, who's also an atheist, but has been on our broadcast many times, a friend of ours. He's done cases where we've taken the other side, but he's been on this broadcast many times. But Dan is not. So we'll have that invitation. We'll be open, though. I'll say it again right now. If Dan wants to be on, you're welcome to come on.
Let's go back to the phones. Heather's calling from St. Paul, Minnesota. You're on the air.
Hi, Heather.
Hi. The term separation of church and state is not in the Constitution or on any legal official founding document, right? It was a private letter from Thomas Jefferson to a friend assuring religious freedom being protected from government or anyone interfering.
It was actually a letter from Thomas Jefferson to the Danbury, Connecticut Baptist Association saying that he will protect religious liberty and religious autonomy. You're absolutely correct.
So my question is, why the term separation in church? Separation of church and state.
Because in 1947, the Supreme Court of the United States in the Everson decision started using that phrase, taking it out of the Thomas Jefferson letter, where Thomas Jefferson utilized the phrase as the metaphor, the wall of separation. But it was designed to protect the church from being interfered with by the government. So then now it's been flipped. And there were some decisions of the Supreme Court that did that. But I've got to say this. I'm holding it up again. By the way, this was the brief 113,000 of you signed on to that we filed at the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. This is the opinion from the Freedom from Religion Foundation case, on that case where we won, where the court was very clear in saying that you cannot remove all references to faith. In fact, the court said this: the Establishment Clause does not compel the government to purge from the public sphere all that in any way partakes of the religious. It's a huge, huge victory. Giant victory. Thank you.
Got a comment in on Facebook that just came in shortly, or Periscope, just a minute ago, came and said we should erect a new cross every time they file a lawsuit.
There you go.
Having a little bit of fun with that. Stephanie on Facebook said our history should not be torn down, and that's absolutely the case. This, again, isn't history. You're not talking about that they're suing to remove, a Klan monument, something horrible and offensive that destroys people that you shouldn't, that would physically make you sick to look at. You're talking about a cross. You're talking about a Jesus statue. You're talking about, Christmas time, the nativities. You're talking about these things that are really have just become commonplace, and it's a ridiculous press grab, essentially trying to get attention. This is why they're going after the football chaplains right now, because football starts in 3 days, so they know they'd get some attention. The Alabama football websites have to have news because, and when there's a slow news day, guess what? They just find out what people are talking about. What they're talking about is the fact that these organizations are coming in and trying to silence the chaplains at these big schools. And again, it's all for publicity, it's all for press, but the problem is it's all for publicity and all for press, but there are judges in their courts that will take them seriously, and that's where you have to stand up.
So I showed you the picture of the war memorial that's up. This is exactly what the soldiers saw in the Alps, in both in Italy and in Switzerland. And Dan Barker was on with his co-president, Annie Gaylor, and this is what they had to say. This is number one. This is what they had to say about that Montana Jesus statue.
This woman that called me said it's a war memorial. Is it a war memorial or what?
No, the special use permit that the Knights of Columbus got in the 50s records it as to provide a site for a religious shrine. And the map is titled Knights of Columbus Shrine, and there's even a tab pointing to it that's marked Shrine. And this is a sham claim that it's a war memorial.
You know, Jordan, that is a bogus argument because the shrine, as they're calling it, was the depiction of what the soldiers saw. What the soldiers saw was considered a religious shrine. That's what it was. That's what the soldiers saw. This was a duplication precisely of that in honor of the veterans.
It is not something you would typically see depicted in any U.S. churches, Catholic or Protestant, this fully colored statue. This was something very typical in Europe, in the Alps, where our soldiers were fighting. It was, but of course, the correct term is a shrine. So they try to use the basic descriptive terms, which is what they were filing with the Park Service, 60 plus years ago, and use that against them. And they were just being honest about what it is exactly that would be going up, and that's the term to describe it. The court looked at the historical contents, the reason for why this specific shrine, why it looks this way, why it has that unique, very colorful, which is different than what we see here in the United States. And it's all because it was about World War II and what the soldiers saw fighting against the Nazis.
That's right. There's so many people who are chiming in online on Facebook and Periscope. You can be a part of that conversation, too. Just look up Jay Sekulow. You'll see we're broadcasting live right now. And that clip that we just played from them was from their podcast, which you can imagine how many people listen to that, with the fact that there are only 22,000 people that are members, unlike the millions of members of the ACLJ and the millions of people watching online. When you actually have only 22,000 members, how many people are listening to the Atheist podcast? I can't even imagine. Tens of people.
They can, tens of people. Again, ACLJ.org or 1-877-989-2255. They're calling it an unholy alliance. You add your name to this letter, backing up these chaplains, backing up these football players in these colleges and the coaches. ACLJ.org or 877-989-2255.
The anti-Christian group Freedom from Religion Foundation is at it again, this time targeting some of the best football programs at colleges and universities in the nation. This atheist group claims that purely voluntary religious activities violate the Constitution. They're attacking the First Amendment free exercise rights of coaches and players, even sending a demand letter to Auburn and numerous other universities challenging the constitutionality of their school chaplains. This is absurd. The Constitution protects the religious freedom of coaches, chaplains, and student athletes. It protects the players' ability to enjoy voluntary religious activities. The ACLJ is preparing critical legal letters to these universities to protect the religious liberty of coaches, chaplains, and students. Join our letter, make your voice heard. Call now 1-877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255, or you can add your name online, aclj.org.